Hi guys, good evening and welcome back. In the last session, we discussed about few Linux commands. What is grep command? What is va command? What is sed command? And what is awk command? Grep command is used for content search in the Linux machine, and va command is an editor which is used to edit the files in the Linux machine. Sed command is a stream editor which is used to process the data. Okay, like you can do replace substitution, insertion, deletion, retrieval by using this sed command. Then similarly, we are having awk command. Awk command is used for processing the data. When the data is having some structure like rows and columns, then in order to process that data, we are going to use awk command in the Linux. Then our today's topic is user management and groups management in the Linux operating system. As we discussed already previously, Linux is multi-user based operating system. What is the meaning of multi-user based operating system, guys? In one Linux machine, multiple user accounts can be created and multiple users can connect with the Linux machine at a time and they can perform multitasking. Linux is a multi-user based OS. That means within one Linux machine, we can create multiple user accounts. So in the real time, so when we are working in a team, multiple team members will be available. All the team members want to perform operations on the single machine. Okay, this is my Linux machine. This is my Linux machine, Linux virtual machine. To this Linux virtual machines, multiple users can be connected at a time. So you can create multiple user accounts in that machine, and all these users can perform operations with this Linux machine at a time. Multiple users can connect to the one machine and they can perform multitasking in that machine. All right. Now, so here multiple user accounts can be created and that multiple users can perform multitasking in the Linux machine. And here we have connected with our Linux machine which we have created in the AWS. So we created one Linux virtual machine in the AWS. So when we create the Linux machine by using this AWS, then by default, we are having one user in the Linux machine. That user is called EC2 user. So we connected with the Linux machine by using EC2 user. Click on connect option. Here SSH connection. EC2 user @ host of the Linux machine. EC2 user is the default user account we have in the Linux machine. So let's go to that Linux machine and let's connect to that by using SSH client. We are using git bash as a SSH client here. Open git bash. Then connect with this machine. Connect with this machine by using this SSH client. It is asking, are you sure you want to connect? Yes, I want to connect with this machine. Yes, I connected. By using who am I command, you can see with which user you logged in into this machine. Okay. So by default, whenever we create one Linux machine, one user account is created. That user account is EC2 user. So as we discussed previously, Linux distributions available. So when we talk about Linux distributions, multiple distributions available for Linux, 20 plus distributions available for Linux operating system. If you create Ubuntu Linux machine, then Ubuntu user will be the default user. We created Amazon Linux machine. That's why we got EC2 user as a default user. Then how do we create other user accounts in the Linux machine? Create new user in the Linux machine. Create new user in the Linux machine. To create the new user, we will use sudo useradd command with the user name. Sudo represents super user doing the operations. So by using EC2 user, I'm creating another user in the Linux machine. Creating the another user is like a admin operation. For that, sudo permissions are required. Sudo nothing but super user privileges we are using in order to create the new user. So once the new user is created, how to set the password for the user? Set password for the user. To set password for the user, sudo passwd username. Okay, it's not spelling mistake, guys. This is a command in the Linux. This command is used to create the new user. This command is used to set the password for the user. Then, what all the users available? I want to see the users here. Display users created. What all the user accounts we created in the Linux machine, I want to display. For that, cat/etc/password. This command is used to display all the users that we have created in the Linux machine. This command is used to display all the users that we have created in our Linux machine. Is my voice clear for everyone? Is my voice clear for everyone? Are you able to follow this? Are you able to follow this? Yeah, perfect. So what is the command we are using to create the new user in the Linux machine? Sudo useradd command we are using. Sudo useradd command we are using in order to create the new user account in the Linux machine. Are you clear with my point? Then how to set the password with the user? Sudo password username. By using this password, we can create password for the new user. And how to see what all the users available? By using cat/etc/password command, we can display the users which we have created. Let us execute these commands. Before going to create the new user, let me display the passwords here. cat/etc/password. Now you see, currently in my machine, only EC2 user is available. That EC2 user is default user. So as I told you, when we launch our Linux machine, by default, one user account will be available for that machine. That user account is called EC2 user account. Then I want to create other users. I want to create other users in the Linux machine. So how to create other user in the Linux machine? Sudo useradd command username. I'm giving the username as a John. Then John user got created. How to set the password for the John? Sudo password John. So changing the password for the John. I'm giving some password for the John user. Okay. Confirm that password. Password authentication updated successfully for the John user. How to see this user is created or not? cat/etc/password. Earlier we have only EC2 user in this Linux machine. Now John user is also available in this Linux machine. There are two users available in the Linux machine. One is the EC2 user. Another one is John user. And you check it, PWD, present working directory. We are in the EC2 user. Now if you see ls-l/home. Inside the home directory, EC2 user home directory available. John also having a home directory. When the user account is created, for every user, one home directory also will be created. So when the John user logged in into the machine, John will go to /home/John. We connected to this machine as a EC2 user. That's why we are in the /home/EC2 user. So we are able to create the account. Let me create another user account in the Linux machine. So what is the command, guys? Sudo useradd Smitha. I'm adding one user with the name Smitha. For Smith user, I want to set the password. Sudo password Smitha. It will ask what password you want to give for the Smitha. Smith@123. New password for the Smitha. Smith@123. Confirm that. So Smith user is updated. How to display that one? Now, in order to display all the users, cat/etc/password. Yes, now you see I'm in the EC2 user is available, John user is available, and Smith user is available. So total there are 3 users available in this Linux machine. Now, so here there are 3 users available in this Linux machine. ls-l/home /home. Now you see in the home directory, EC2 user home directory available. John is having a John home directory. Smith is having Smith home directory. Currently, I connected with this account as a EC2 user. Now I want to switch to other user account. How to switch to other user account? In order to switch to the other user account, sudo su. Su means switch user. Sudo su John. Now you see, I switch it from EC2 user to John user. Then I want to go to John user John user home directory. cd space tilde command. Then we will go to John user home directory /home/John. cd space tilde command, which is used to go to logged in user home directory. In the Linux machine, every user will have their own home directory. So to switch to the logged in user home directory, we will use a command called cd space tilde. Are you clear? What is sudo? Sudo means super user privileges, administrator permission we are giving to execute that command. Sudo su John. I switch it from EC2 user to John user. Now, how can we come out from this John user account? If you execute a command called exit command, then I exited from the John account, then I came to EC2 user account. Then see the present working directory. I'm in the /home/EC2 user. Okay, so currently I connected with this machine as a EC2 user. Now let me switch to John user, sudo su John. Sudo super user privileges, su means switch user. Switch it to John user. I switch it to John user, but what is my present working directory? I switch it to John user account in the Linux machine, but my present working directory is EC2 user only. How to go to John user home directory? cd space tilde command, which is used to switch to logged in user home directory, pwd. Now you see, I am in the /home/John. So when a user logged in into the Linux machine, they will have all the permissions to perform the operations in their home directory. If you log in as the EC2 user, then you should work on the EC2 user home directory to create the files and all that stuff. If you connect with the machine as a John user, then you need to go to John user home directory. If you log in as a Smith user, then you should go to Smith user home directory. Now, I want to exit from the John user account. Exit. Then I came to EC2 user. Let me go to Smith user, sudo su Smith. I connected to Smith user account. But what is my present working directory? Still EC2 user. cd space tilde command. Then I switch it to Smith user home directory /home/Smith. Are you guys able to understand my point? Then how to come out from the Smith user account, guys? By using exit command, we can come out from the Smith user account. So can you please read the commands that we have executed? Linux is multi-user based operating system, whereas Windows is single user based operating system. Linux is multi-user based operating system. In the Linux machine, multiple user accounts can be created and multiple users can connect with the single Linux machine at a time. Okay, so in this Linux machine, by default, one user account is available that is called EC2 user. Then how to create a new user? By using useradd command. In order to execute this useradd command, sudo privileges we are giving. Then how to set the password for the user? Sudo password command we are executing. How to display all the users we have created? cat/etc/password command we are using. How to switch to the another user account? Switch user in the Linux. To switch user in the Linux, sudo su username. Sudo super user doing, su means switch user. How to navigate? Connect with a logged in user home directory. Go to logged in user home directory. Go to logged in user home directory. So guys, when I write hash, that's nothing but a comment, right? $, nothing but a command. So cd space tilde. If you execute this command, Then you will go to logged in user home directory. Are you clear with the commands? How to create a new user in the Linux? How to set password for the user? How to see all the users available in this Linux machine? How to switch from one user account to another user account? How to navigate to the user home directory, logged in user home directory. If you are clear with these commands, please type clear. Are you guys clear with these commands? Creating the users, setting the passwords, switching the users. Okay, now I want to delete the user in the Linux machine. How to delete user in the Linux machine? To delete the user in the Linux machine, sudo userdel then username. Userdel is the command which is used to delete the user. Now you observe. So how to see the users? cat/etc/password. Okay, it is displaying there are 3 users available. EC2 user, John user, Smith user is available. John user home, the EC2 user is the default user. EC2 user is having the root privileges, guys. Admin privileges available for the EC2 user. /home/EC2 user is the home directory. For John, /home/John is available. For Smith, /home/Smith is available. Now, how to see the home directories of the users? ls-l space/home. Inside the home directory, 3 users are having their own home directories. Now, I want to delete one user. Sudo userdel John. Now, John user is deleted. But can you check the John user home directory deleted? I have deleted the John user. When I delete the John user home directory also deleted, John user home directory not deleted. Can you respond in the chat box? When I delete one user in the Linux machine by using userdel command, is it deleting that user home directory or it is not deleting that user home directory? Is it deleting that user home directory? It is not deleting that user home directory. No, it is not deleting that user home directory. Okay, now how to delete the user along with the home directory? So let us see the command delete user along with user home directory. Delete user along with the user home directory. So for every user, home directory will be available under home, right? Sudo userdel username. Which user account you want to delete? --remove. If you give this option --remove, that user account also will be deleted along with the user home directory. Okay, now let me delete the Smith user. Sudo userdel username is Smith --remove. Then Smith user is deleted. Let us check the user home directories ls-l/home. Now you see Smith user is deleted. Smith user home directory also deleted. So how to check which users available? /etc/password. Now in this machine only EC2 user is available as a default user account. For that EC2 user /home/EC2 user is the name that is available. That is the home directory of the EC2 user. So are you clear? How to delete the user in the Linux? How to delete the user along with the user home directory? If you pass an argument for the userdel command --remove, then that particular user will be deleted and user home directory also will be deleted. User is deleted and user home directory also deleted. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? Come on. Now, for example, I want to change the user. Let me create one user, sudo useradd Charles. Okay, I have created the user, set the password, sudo password Charles. Set the password for the Charles. Charles at the rate 123. Charles at the rate 123. I have created a user with a name called Charles and I have updated password also for the Charles. Then I want to change the username cat/etc/password. So EC2 user is available and Charles user is also available. Now I want to change the username. How can we change the username in the Linux? So sudo command usermod. What is the command we are using? Sudo usermod command we are using -l. What is the new name you want? Charlie. That's it. What is the old name available? Charles. Charlie is available. I want to change the name. By using usermod command, by using this command, we are updating the username. This is the old name and this is the new name. By using this usermod -l option, we can change the user name. We can rename the user by using this usermod command. Now check the users cat/etc/password. Now you see here Charlie username is modified, but the home directory name is not modified. So like this, you can change the usernames in the Linux machine. So how to change the username? How to change usernames in the Linux? How to change username in the Linux? Sudo usermod command -l. What is the new name that you want and what is the old name that you have? So like this, you can rename the user. How to reset the password? By using this command, you can reset the user password. Sudo password command, you can execute for this username. Then it will ask you, what is the old password? What is the new password that you want to update for this user account? Are you clear with my point? How to create users in the Linux? Useradd command, password, display all the users available, right? How to switch from one user account to another user account? How to go to the logged in user home directory? How to delete the user? How to delete the user along with the user home directory? How to change the username in the Linux machine? Are you guys clear with my point? You understand? You understand how to create the user? You understand how to create the user? How to set the password? How to see the users available? How to delete the user? Okay, how to change the username? Very good. Next one. Let's work on groups concept in the Linux machine. Working with user groups in the Linux, guys. Work with the user groups in the Linux. So group means collection of users. We can add multiple users to one group, guys. We can add multiple users to one group here. So how to work with the users and how to work with the user groups, let us try to understand that point. So group means collection of users we can add to one group. For example, I want to create one group called DevOps group. In that DevOps group, I want to add multiple users and I want to manage some permissions for the users with respect to the group. Okay, now what is the meaning of group? Group is nothing but collection of users. So in the Linux machine, guys, when we create a user will be created with the username. One group also will be created. When we create user in the Linux machine, for every user, one user group also will be created with the given username. Okay, now suppose, for example, if I create one user by using useradd command with a name called John. John user account will be created and John user group also will be created. So can you please read this statement again? When we are working with user groups in the Linux machine, for every user, one user group also will be created with the given username. When we create a user in the Linux machine, for every user, one user group also will be created with the given username. How to display all the groups which are available in the Linux machine. Okay, display all groups in Linux. Display all groups in the Linux machine. So to display all the groups in the Linux machine, the command is cat /etc/group command is available. /etc/group command is available, which is used to display all the groups which we have in the Linux machine. Let us see this command and execute it. Go to this Linux machine and let me execute /etc/group. Now you see EC2 user having one group with this username. Charles user is available with one group. Okay, guys. Okay. So EC2 user account is created, and along with that account, one group also created. So when we create one user, along with the user, one group also will be created with that username. I created Charles user. For the Charles, one group also created. So user is created, along with the given username, one group also created. So how to create a group in the Linux? Create group. So to create the group, sudo privileges required, group add command. Group add, then we can give a group name. So how we created user by using user add command? How we created user by using user add command? Similarly, we can create a group in the Linux machine by using group add command. Sudo group add group name. Right. So let me execute this command. Guys. Sudo group add group name. I'm giving the group name as DevOps group. Okay. With this, I have created the group with a name called DevOps group. How to check the groups available in the Linux machine? Cat /etc/group. So if you see EC2 user group available, Charles group is available, DevOps group is available. For every group ID is also available. 1000, 1001, 1002. DevOps group ID is the 1002. We created the group with a name called DevOps group. How to add the users to the group? Okay, I have user. I want to add the user to the user group. Add user to the group. Add user to group. How to add the user to the group? For that, sudo usermod command -a add group. Adding the user to the group, which is AG. Adding the user to the group. So to which group you want to add the user? Group name. Which user you want to add to the group? That username we are going to specify. So this command is used to display all the groups available in the Linux machine. This command is used to create the group in the Linux machine. This command is used to add the user to the particular group. Are you guys clear? Are you guys clear with my point? So how to remove the user from the group? For this, remove user from group. Okay, already I have added user to the group. You are using WhatsApp groups. You will add user to the WhatsApp group. You can remove user from the WhatsApp group. Yes or no? Guys, are you with me? Are you able to follow me? These commands are very, very important and you need to remember. Are you guys with me? I'm not getting any response from you. Is it boring or able to understand? Yes. So when you create one user, for that user, one group also will be created. And if you want to create your own groups, you can create and you can add multiple users to one user group also. How to add the user to the group? Using usermod command, we can add particular user to the user group. Suppose I want to remove one user from the group. How to remove user from the group, guys? So to remove user from the group, sudo gpassword -d username. Which user you want to remove from which group? This is the command. So observe carefully. Display all the groups in the Linux machine. cat/etc/group command, it will display all the groups in the Linux machine. Group add command, which is used to create a group in the Linux machine. User mode command -ag, adding the user to the group. Which user you want to add. Which user you want to add to which group, that you can specify by using this user mode command. You can specify this by using user mode command. Remove user from the group. Remove user from the group. So sudo gpassword -d username and group name. Username and group name that you can specify. Then that particular user will be removed from the group. Then the particular user will be removed from the group. Please read the commands again. Very, very important, guys. Are you clear with the commands? Then let us see. Display all the users belongs to particular group. Okay. Display users belongs to particular group. Belongs to which groups? Users belongs to a group. So in one group, how many users available? I want to check it. For that, sudo lead command -g group name. So if you execute this command, it will display users belongs to a particular group. In this given group name, which users are available, it will display all the users. Display user belongs to which groups? Display one user belongs to how many groups? Display one user belongs to how many groups? User belongs to which groups? In one group, how many users available you can check, and one user belongs to how many groups also you can check by using id command. id with username. If you execute id command with that username, then that user belongs to how many groups and which groups, that is going to display. Okay. Similarly, you can delete the group and you can change the group name also. Group del command is available. Delete group, guys. How to delete the group? By using sudo group del command. By giving particular group name, you can delete that. How to change the group name? Changing group name. Rename the group. Changing group name. Group mode command. Right. Sudo group mode command is available. -n new name and old name. New name and old name that we are going to specify in order to rename the group, guys. Now, cat/etc/group, which will display what are the groups available. I got disconnected from the machine due to timeout. Let me connect back using SSH client. Now you see, I'm connecting to this machine as a EC2 user. SSH-I, my PEM file I am giving, and EC2 user account I'm using, and I'm trying to connect with the machine. Yes, I connected with this machine as a EC2 user. My present working directory, who am I? Yes, fine. I connect. Now, let us see what all the user groups available in this Linux machine. What are the groups available in this Linux machine? What is the command? cat/etc/group command. So EC2 user group available, Charles group available, DevOps group also available. Okay, how to add one user to the particular group? For example, let me execute id Charles. Okay, Charles user not available. We renamed it as Charlie. id Charlie. Charlie user is available. Charlie user ID. Charlie belongs to Charlie's group. Okay, and Charlie belongs to only one group called Charlie's group. So to avoid the confusion, let me do one thing. Sudo user add with a name called Ashok. Okay, then I created one user with a name called Ashok. Let me check ID Ashok. ID Ashok, which will represent Ashok user belongs to how many groups? Ashok user account is created. Ashok user ID is 1002. Ashok group created. Ashok group ID 1003. Ashok is belongs to only Ashok group. Now, so I want to add the Ashok user to the DevOps group. So I have already given you a command how to add the user to the particular group. So to add the user to the particular group, we are using sudo usermod -ag. What is the group name? DevOps group available and Ashok. So with this, Ashok is added to a group called DevOps group. ID Ashok. So user ID 1002, group ID 1003. Ashok is belongs to two groups, guys. Ashok is by default belongs to his own group. And I have added Ashok user to one more group, which is called DevOps group. I have added Ashok user to one more group called DevOps group. So how to add the user to the group? To add the user to the group, we are using usermod command. We are using usermod command. Are you guys clear with this one? Check this. This is a command which is used to add the user. This is used to check user belongs to which groups. This usermod command I am using to add that particular user to the group. And ID Ashok. It is displaying Ashok user belongs to how many groups. Okay. Suppose if I want to remove the user from that group, guys, then there is a command here. Okay. So gpassword command we are using to remove that user from the group. Gpassword command we are using to remove user from the group. So let me execute this command. Sudo gpassword -d Ashok user group name is a DevOps group. Now, so you can see the message removing user Ashok from the group DevOps group. So Ashok user added to the DevOps group and Ashok user is removed from the DevOps group also. We can add the user to the group and we can remove the user from the group. We can add the user from the group and we can remove user from the group. Are you clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? Then display users belongs to particular group. Now I want to execute a command, lid command. What is the purpose of this lid command? Display which users belongs to this particular group. Now I want to see in the DevOps group how many users are available. Now I want to see in the DevOps group how many users are available. How to check users belongs to particular group? Sudo lid command -g group name. My group name is DevOps group. So currently any user available in the DevOps group? Is there any user available in the DevOps group, guys? No, there is no user available in the DevOps group. So can we add one user to the DevOps group? Yes, we can add the user to the DevOps group. How to add it? Sudo usermod -ag group name, that is DevOps group username Ashok. Now sudo lid-g DevOps group. Now in the DevOps group, when I execute lid command with group name, then it will display which users are belongs to that group. Only in the DevOps group Ashok user is available. Let me create one user. Sudo user add with a name called Ram. Ram user is created and sudo user add some Sita. So I created Ram and Sita. Two users are created. Okay, now you see ID Ram. Ram is belongs to only Ram group. ID Sita. Sita is belongs to only Sita group. Now I want to add these users to the DevOps group. Ram and Sita belongs to DevOps group now. Let me add them. How to add it? Sudo user add sudo usermod -ag group name is DevOps group. What is the username? Ram. Ram is added to the DevOps group. And let me add Sita. Sita also belongs to DevOps. Now let us execute sudo lid command -g group name DevOps group. Now see, in the DevOps group, there are 3 users available. In the DevOps group, there are 3 users available. Now, if I execute ID Ashok, Ashok belongs to his own group and Ashok belongs to DevOps group. ID Ram, belongs to Ram group and Ram belongs to DevOps group. ID Sita, belongs to her own group and she belongs to DevOps group also. Like this, when you create the user, one user will be created and that user group also will be created. And you can create multiple users and you can create multiple groups in the Linux machine. You can add the user to the group. You can remove user from the group. You can see which users belongs to particular group and you can see one user belongs to which groups. And similarly, you can delete the user group also. You can delete the user group, group del. You can change the group name also, new name and old name. So now let me change the group name. Okay. So how to see all the groups available? cat/etc/group. So there are several groups available. EC2 user group, Charles group, DevOps group, Ashok group, Ram group, Sita group. In the DevOps group, Ashok, Ram and Sita. So all these 3 users available in this particular group. That means when you execute a command, etc group, it is displaying what all the groups available and which user belongs to that group also, it is displaying. Okay. Then I want to change the DevOps group name. Okay. How to change it? Sudo group mode. I have given the command in the notes already. Sudo group mode, new name and old name. I want to give the new name as only DevOps. Old name is DevOps group. I want to change the group name to DevOps from the DevOps group. Done. Now check this group name cat/etc/group. So the group name change it to DevOps now. In the DevOps group, there are 3 users available. Okay. I can delete particular group also in the Linux machine. Group del command will be available. Sudo group del group name. My group name is DevOps. That's it. Group del command cat/etc/group. Sorry. /etc/group. Now you see there is no group called DevOps. So like this you can perform operations related to users and groups in the Linux machine. Are you guys able to understand? We have used several commands today to work with users and groups in the Linux machine. Linux is a multi-user based operating system. So within one Linux machine, we can create multiple users and groups. Multiple users can access single Linux machine and can at a time and can perform multitasking. Multiple users can access single Linux machine at a time and can perform multitasking. So we connected with the EC2 user. In the EC2 user, by default, this EC2 user account is available. We can create one new user. We can set the password for the user. We can display all the users which are created. We can switch from one user account to another user account. We can go to logged in user home directory. We can delete the user. We can delete the user along with the home directory. We can change the username. And similarly, working with user groups. When we create a user in the Linux machine, for every user, one group also will be created along with the given username. So how to display all the groups in the Linux machine? cat/etc/group command we are going to use. How to create the group? Sudo group add command we will use to create the group. How to add particular user to the group? Usermod command. How to remove user from the group? password command. How to display users belongs to a group? How many which users are available in that group? Lid command we can use. How to display one user belongs to which groups? ID username. How to delete the group? Group del command. How to change the group name? Group mode command. Okay, so like this you can deal with users and groups in the Linux machine. So here we connected with this Linux machine as a EC2 user. Now there are several other users also available /etc/password. So Charlie available, Ashok available, Ram available, Sita available. Now I want to connect with this Linux machine by using Ashok. I want to connect with the Linux machine as a Ashok user. So if you want to connect with this machine using Ashok user, then we need to discuss about one of the most important configuration file in the Linux machine. Okay, we discussed about the users. We discussed about the groups. Now, how to log in into this Linux machine with my user account. I have user account in this Linux machine now. As of now, I am using EC2 user account to log in into the Linux machine. Now, Ashok user account is created. I want to log in into my machine with this my own user account. So if you want to connect with the machine with your own user account, then you need to learn about one important configuration file in the Linux machine that is called sudoers file. Okay, what is sudoers file here? Sudoers file is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. What is that, guys? Sudoers file available in the Linux machine. Sudoers file is very important file in the Linux machine. Using this file, we can configure which user can run the command as a super user. We are using EC2 user. EC2 user can do anything in the Linux machine because EC2 user having super user privileges. EC2 user is having a super user privileges in the Linux machine. That's why by using sudo command, we are using user creation, we are doing by using sudo command. Super user privileges available. By using sudo command, we are doing the operation sudo user add some Gita. Right. So here user add command I executed with the sudo privileges. EC2 user is having sudo privileges. Then similarly, for the Ashok user also, I want to give the sudo privileges. How to give the sudo privileges for the Ashok user? Okay, so that's where sudoers file comes into picture in the Linux machine. What is sudoers file in the Linux? So it is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. Using this file, we can control which user can run the command as a super user. Which user can run the command as a super user. So we can configure the user's information in the sudoers file. Then those users can run the commands as a super user, as a sudo user. So see the print the content of the sudoers file. Print sudoers file content. Let us see first where this file is available, what content is available. Sudo cat /etc/sudoers. So if cat command is used to print content of the file, /etc/sudoers. So sudoers file available in the etc directory. I want to print the content of that sudoers file. Let us execute this command. So go here and execute. Sudo cat /etc/sudoers. So this is the file. In this file, we can configure all the information related to user. Which command user can execute, which user can execute the command as a sudo user. Everything we can configure in this sudoers file. So by default, root user is available. Allow the root to run any commands from anywhere. In the Linux machine, by default, root account will be available. Root account user can run any command from any location. Similarly, we need to configure Ashok user to run any command from any location. Okay, so we should be very careful when we are working with the sudoers file, guys. Now I want to make the changes to the sudoers file. So to make the changes to the sudoers file, you need to remember one point. We should be very careful while working with the sudoers file. If we do any mistakes in the sudoers file, then our Linux machine will be crashed. User accounts will be not accessible. So that's why we should be very careful when we are working with the sudoers file. So how to give the sudo privileges for particular user? Giving sudo privileges for a user. So first open the sudoers file. Open sudoers file. For that we are using sudo vi sudo command. Sudo vi sudo. Vi sudo is a command in the Linux machine. That command is used to open sudoers file in the line. What is the sudoers file? In that file, we will specify which user can run the command as a super user. User privileges, user permissions we can configure in the sudoers file. So we are creating multiple users in the Linux machine. Which user can perform these operations, which user can perform sudo privileges, that we can configure by using this sudoers file. Okay, how to open the sudoers file? By using pi sudo command, we can open sudoers file. Then how to add the particular user in the sudoers file? Add the below line to give sudo permissions for particular user. Okay, username. For this user, I'm giving all the privileges. What are the privileges available for the root user in the Linux machine? All those privileges I want to give for my user account also. After making the changes to the sudoers file, to close that file, we need to execute Control X, Y, enter. After making changes to close the sudoers file, we need to execute these commands. Control plus X plus Y plus enter, then that file will be saved and that file will be closed. Sudoers file is very important file in the Linux machine. It is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. Using this file, we can control which user can run the command as a super user. So here, this is the command which is used to, if you want to see the content of the file, you can print like this. If you want to open that file, vi sudo command you can use. Then in that file, you can add the user details like this. Already root user is available. Now I want to add Ashok user in the sudoers file. So let me go here. I will copy this command. Okay. Example, my user account is available as a Ashok. For the Ashok user, want to give all the sudo privileges in the Linux machine. Ashok, then all the privileges I'm giving in the Linux machine to perform the operations. Perfect, guys. Now go here. Open this file. What is the command to open the sudoers file? Sudo vi sudo command I'm using. Sudo vi sudo command I'm using in order to open this file. Yes, file is opened. Then scroll down. You check wherever you can see hash. If any line is starting with hash, that is a commented line. Hash is used for comment. Okay, come down. You can check where the root user is available. Yes, here the root user is available. So root user can perform all the operations. Similarly, paste the Ashok user. Okay, my username is Ashok. Right. Now, Ashok user also is configured in the sudoers file. That means Ashok user can execute any command in the Linux machine from any location. Ashok user can execute any command in the Linux machine from any location. Whatever the privileges available for the root user, same privileges I'm giving for the Ashok user. Made the changes to the file. Okay, then how to close it? Control X, Y, enter. Control X plus Y plus enter. Then the file is changed and the file is closed. Right? How to see the file content again? Cat sudo cat slash etc slash sudoers. Sudo cat slash etc slash sudoers. Now you see in this file, root user is configured. Below the root user, we have given Ashok user also. Now you see, root user is available with all the privileges. Now Ashok user is also available with all the privileges. Are you able to understand what is sudoers file in the Linux machine? Sudoers file is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. By using this sudoers file, we can configure user privileges. Which user can perform which operation in the Linux machine, that we can configure. Are you clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? What is the sudoers file in the Linux machine? Sudoers file is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. Using this file, we can control which user can run the command as a super user. Which user can run the command as a super user. Print the sudoers file content. Sudo cat /etc/sudoers. So we should be careful while working with this file, guys. We should be careful while working with this file. So how to open this file? Sudo vi sudo command, which is used to open the sudoers file. And add this line to give sudo permission for the particular user. Ashok is the username. For the Ashok user, I'm giving all the privileges. After making the changes to the file, how to close this file in the Linux? By using Ctrl plus X plus Y plus Enter. Then the file will be saved and the file will be closed. Okay. The next point. Currently, we are connecting with the Linux machine by using PEM file, guys. So how we are connecting with the Linux machine? Let me exit from this machine. Now, I got exited from the machine. How we are connecting to the Linux machine? We are connecting to the Linux machine by using PEM file. Okay, but PEM file is available in my machine. But how to connect with the Linux machine by using password? I created Ashok user, right? For Ashok user, password is available. So how to connect with the Linux machine by using password? How to enable password-based authentication in the Linux machine? So as of now, we are connecting to the Linux machine by using PEM file. That's fine. UC2 user account is the default user account. We used PEM file to connect with the Linux machine. Then how to enable password-based authentication for the user? So I know I have this Linux machine. I have a public IP for the Linux machine. I know the public IP. I have my user account in the Linux machine. I know my username and I know my password. So how to connect with the Linux machine by using my password? So that means how to enable password-based authentication in the Linux machine. By default, we are connecting with this Linux machine by using PEM file. By default, we are connecting with the Linux machine by using PEM file. But how to connect with the user account by using password? So in the interview, they will ask this question. How to enable password-based authentication in the Linux? Okay. Now, to enable password-based authentication in the Linux machine, we need to deal with one more configuration file. Already we used one configuration file that is called sudoers file. What is the purpose of sudoers file? In the sudoers file, we can configure the users, which user can perform which operation, which user can have sudo privileges. That can be configured in the sudoers file. Then how to enable password-based authentication for the user? To enable password-based authentication, we need to deal with the SSH config file. Okay. In the Linux, there is another important configuration file is available. That configuration file is SSH config file, guys. In the SSH config file, for the user, by default, password authentication is disabled. In the SSH config file, by default, password authentication is no. So you cannot connect with the Linux machine by using password directly. The reason, password-based authentication is no. To enable password-based authentication, we need to set that value as yes. To enable password-based authentication, we need to set the value as yes. Okay. So how to display that configuration file data? Where that configuration file will be available? That file is available etc sshd config. Okay. Let me go to this command. Cat command I am using to print sshd config file data. Sudo cat /etc sshd file data. Connect with the machine. As a EC2 user, I connected with the machine. Then execute this command. Sudo cat command sshd config file data I want to print. Now that file data is printed. Hash means comment that will not be executed. Now check in this file where password-based authentication is available. By default, password-based authentication, no. Now, can you see this line? Password authentication is no by default. Password authentication is no by default. Now we need to set this value as yes. Then users can connect with the Linux machine by using password. Okay, so I hope you got the clarity. How to enable password-based authentication for the user in the Linux machine. To enable password-based authentication, we need to deal with SSHD config file. So in this SSHD config file, by default, password-based authentication is no. To enable that password-based authentication, we need to set the value as yes. Okay. So how to display that file data? How to edit that file? So open that file, guys. Open SSHD config file. Open SSHD config file. Sudo vi command we are using, etc SSHD config file we are going to use. Copy this command and execute. So with this command, I'm going to open my SSHD config file. Open this. Now scroll down where the password authentication is no. Let's set it as yes. Password authentication is no. Let's make it as yes. Okay. Go to insert mode, vi command mode. I'm going to the insert mode. Yes. I'm setting password authentication as yes. That's it. So once we have done this change in the file, then save the changes and close the file. Once it is changed, we need to restart our SSHD service in the Linux. Okay. Once that file is changed, SSHD config file is modified, we need to restart that SSHD service, guys. For this is a command systemctl restart SSHD, which is used to restart that service in the Linux machine. Once it is restarted, then you can connect with the Linux machine using your username and password. Okay, so that is the task I am giving for you today. That is the task I am giving you for today. Connect with the Linux machine using user password. Okay, so log in into Linux machine. Instead of EC2 user, you need to create one new user and you need to connect with that user by using username and password. Can you guys do that? I have given the configuration to enable password-based authentication. How to enable it? We have done that. Now the assignment, the lab task for you. Try this tomorrow. If you are able to do it, excellent. If you are not able to do, tomorrow I will explain. Create one new user and log in into Linux machine, Linux VM with a new user account using account, username and password, not with the PEM file. This is the lab task and this is the assignment I am giving for you. Create one new user and log in into the Linux machine with the new user account using account, username and password. As of now, you connected with the Linux machine as a EC2 user. Now, I want you to create another user, then enable password-based authentication for that user, then connect with that machine by using that username and password. Can you guys try this task before coming to tomorrow's session? Can you try this? First assignment I am giving you. So please try this assignment before coming to tomorrow's session. So once we complete this assignment, then we are done with user management in the Linux. So once we are clear with the user management, then tomorrow we will talk about file permissions in the Linux machine. How to work with the permissions in the Linux machine, that we are going to discuss in the tomorrow session. Okay. Today's class is very, very, very important class, guys. How to create users. Okay. How to create the groups. How to set the password for the user. How to add the user to the group. How to remove user from the group. Okay. Then what is the sudoers file in the Linux machine? What is sudoers file in the Linux machine? Okay. How to deal with the sudoers file in the Linux machine, and what is password-based authentication, how to enable password-based authentication. Those things we are going to practice today, guys. So I have done the class, and in the live class I have done the practicals also. I want you people to do the practicals, and I want you to complete one lab task as part of our today's session. Okay. Once this lab task is completed, then tomorrow we will talk about file permissions in the Linux machine. Thank you.